Welcome to Florida Gators Live, episode number 64, presented by FanDuel. And we just had the reveal of the Florida Gators spring practice schedule, including the date of the spring game. So that confirms we will have a spring game. And the game's going to be on April 11th. I wonder if this is going to be televised because there's nothing saying it will or won't be just yet.
Yeah, this was something kind of we've been talking about, like even off air, just because, again, Florida didn't televise it last year, and that was a move that a lot of people kind of made around the country out of concerns of guys getting poached in the spring, which I think was already kind of an overblown concern. But now, theoretically, they shouldn't be able to move. So, I mean, I don't see any reason why Florida wouldn't televise it unless these schools have just decided now that they didn't televise it, like, hey, we have no need to do this. But I hope they do.
Yeah, it's also just a cheap way to get excitement. Like fans are, it's going to be 4 months since our last game, and you're not going to have another game for another 5-6 months after that. So just a little way to kind of give you a little appetizer, and it's a long break between the appetizer and your main course there before the season. But no, I mean, every other day it seems like practices are, and starting March 3rd. So we don't have too much longer, just a month and 2 weeks until we'll be able to start covering the rest of spring practice, not just a spring game. And it's going to be interesting because you mentioned it before when we went live about, there's no portal, but wonder if players are just going to drop out of the college and enroll somewhere else because, maybe they're clearly losing this job that they went to a school for. And they're like, well, okay, now that I can't start here, I'm going to try to go somewhere else. But no, I mean, I'm excited for the spring game, and I'll probably go anyways, but I hope they do show it live because it's easier to go back and watch and see everything that happened at the game because you miss a lot live in person.
Oh, 100%. And last year I wasn't at the game, and I knew Dallas Wilson went off obviously, but I was just going off whatever, in the stands videos people had posted on Twitter and stuff. So didn't really get a great view of kind of all that went down as far as that goes. But yeah, I mean, a lot of players I think we're going to be excited to see. I mean, obviously it's a spring game, so you can't take too much from it. But I mean, I think everyone is curious to see how Philo looks running a Buster Faulkner offense and just what the Buster Faulkner offense looks like in general.
Yeah. I mean, I remember on our show last year, I had some videos I took at the game so we could air them on the show and everything. And it's like, it would just be a lot nicer if we can all see the videos from TV, even if it's just, the SEC network cameras, which were pretty poor during the season. But yeah. I'd take that in a heartbeat for a spring game.
Better than nothing for sure. No, it'll be interesting. And I think we're all pretty excited to, at least just see what this thing looks like in spring practice and then into the game, just, with the new staff and the new coordinators. I think I'd say cautious optimism from a lot of people. And I think we're all just kind of excited to see what it looks like.
Yeah. And I think cautious optimism is a very fair to have. That's what fandom is supposed to be. I know I was in a chat with somebody and they were saying how, the past 5 years, that they've always they've always drank the Kool-Aid. And I'm thinking back and it's like, really outside of 2025, this past season, from a national media perspective, we haven't really been all that hyped about the season. Or, the national media hasn't been. This was the first time we were ranked since 2021 or ranked in the preseason since the 2021 season or going into the year, I should say. So it's like the local media and local fans being hyped about a season. You kind of got to know. You should know as a fan that, like, okay, this is our fandom. Like, of course, we're going to do that. But from a national media perspective, since 2021, we've only had one season where we started the year ranked. So it's going to be interesting to see how if fans are going to look at media around here and think that that's what the national perspective is.
I was actually thinking about this yesterday. I'm curious what the national perspective is going to be. Like, I kind of suspect Florida might be ranked to begin the year, like low 20s. So, it wouldn't shock me.
So interestingly enough, I know I saw another SEC show where one of the people they had Florida going 10-2 in year one.
That'd be.
And I'm like, hey, I'm currently not too far off from that in my ranking, in my predictions. But I know on 3, JD Piquel, he did a video like talking about Florida and kind of like the eyes on Florida, like what Florida is right now. And he's mentioned how you can tell the difference in the portal between Summerall and Napier. And a lot of the talent that we had on the team last year is still here. And this was talent that people had starting the season as, a playoff sleeper, a team that they think could legitimately make a run to the playoffs and in the playoffs. So I wonder how much of that's going to change. And if people are still like, yeah, it was just coaching. Because, I know there are people, you yourself questioned Florida because of the coaching that were just like, hey, the talent's there. This is a top 25 team that can compete for a playoff spot. Like, if they just get the coaching right, they're there. We lose a couple pieces. Lagway, people were ranking Lagway as the best QB in the country going into this. Some were, not everyone, I'm saying. It's not a consensus thing. But, Philo isn't going to have that this year. So that's one big thing where you're going from people having a QB as the best in the country. So, there's going to be some people who like Philo. He has a decent amount of tape on at Georgia Tech. And, just the offensive system is going to be a bit more trusted for us this year. So it's going to be interesting. I don't think we'll start ranked, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it would be kind of surprising just because we were 4-8, but I do think, like the transfer class is, I believe, top 10 right now. Just with all that, retaining the guys that whose name that everyone knows, I think could maybe help in that regard. I think it's interesting you talk about last year, like the optimism, and I think part of the problem is some of the guys that we were expecting to be really good just. There wasn't a lot of great. I think the development was just lacking on the last staff. So there were guys that we kind of hoped were going to take leaps that didn't really do that. But then also, injuries. And injuries, of course, yeah, like Caleb Banks, in that case. But then I think of a guy like Austin Barber, who I think wasn't bad, but also I don't think was necessarily. We hoped he could maybe take that next step to being like a first round talent kind of guy. Obviously, not really what happened there. But I think, going into this year, it's interesting because we did keep a lot of the same guys, but it's also guys like, we were kind of optimistic about Jaden Woods, but no one thought Jaden Woods would be like a crucial year 2 retention. And then, the receivers, we didn't know. We just didn't know what they would look like. And obviously, I think VB3, extremely proven playmaker. And Dallas, not necessarily, but like, I think we've seen enough to say that it'll probably be pretty good with him. So I think it's kind of similar in that way, but I think there's maybe more confidence, at least on my end this time, in those guys, the returning names that we're optimistic about.
Yeah. And about Dallas, like he may not have a full season's worth of tape to say he's proven, like, VB3, who was 3 different spots for freshman all SEC. But I'll say based on what other teams are offering Dallas to try to poach him away, like the money wise, they expect Dallas to be a proven guy who could be on the all SEC team this type of season. So
yeah,
like the talent's there. It's just whether they can develop / stay healthy. That's going to be the key part there. And you mentioned Woods, he was a top 15 portal on the player before we got on the return. Jaden Ball, there are people who think he's the best running back in the country. Like the players are going to be there and you just got to see it all come together.
Yeah. And I just think you're going to have depth concerns just because of the nature of the rebuild. You lost a lot of depth, like bringing in a lot of portal guys, hit on some, missed on others. Honestly, like, obviously there's some differences, but it reminds me, the way Florida's approached this off season reminds me a lot of how the Jags approached last off season, just in terms of like, we have to, swap out a lot of the roster and we're kind of backfilling a foundation. And that's kind of how I view the way the staff has approached the portal. And we'll get into this point more, but I think, you're just going to be thin at some areas because they had to swap out a lot of depth. And it's clear, I think, at some areas like offensive line that they're just very committed to high school recruiting, as the way they're going to build it.
Let's get to our first topic here. I know I have it as final portal additions. I'm still expecting us to be getting someone, soon. Like they could commit while we're live right now. We have someone on campus at this moment, and I wouldn't be shocked if there's another player or two in the portal that we don't really know about at this point that does end up committing. But for the most part, as a full topic alone, these are going to be the final players we really talk about adding to this class. And I'm honestly thinking next week we might even do our early picks, our early predictions, like last year where we had early predictions predicting the season and everything. And now that we're going to know 98% of this roster by next Sunday, I think it's going to be time for that. But we'll talk about our final couple additions here. Did we talk about Tony Livingston leaving? I believe we would have. Yes.
I think we did. I'm pretty sure we covered that.
So the first player we're going to talk about, UCLA DB transfer Kanye Clark, 6 foot, 190 pounds. Had 2 PBUs this season, forced fumble, 23 tackles, adding to the DB room more depth. This, I don't think, isn't the starting corner.
No,
I mean, looking at his PFF grade, his history, like, this is a solid.
Barring a massive leap, yeah.
Yeah, barring a massive leap, that's fair. But at this point, I wouldn't expect Kanye Clark to be seeing a lot of playing time next year.
No, and it's interesting because again, something we were kind of talking about off air. Like they were so in on Jontez Williams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Jontez Williams. And since then they really haven't been very aggressive with the corners. And this was kind of the first guy there was a ton of smoke with, or not even really smoke with. It kind of just happened. But yeah, I mean, this seems like a depth piece, which is interesting. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the way they've approached it, it does kind of project confidence in that cornerback room, but obviously they did pursue the number 1 corner in the portal. I mean, one thing that's interesting here is that this is a he's listed as a freshman. He's played 3 years, I guess.
So I'm pretty sure he redshirted. Then he had a season-ending injury, so he got a medical redshirt, and then he played his freshman year.
So should still have 3 more seasons of eligibility.
Yes,
and that's interesting because I feel like that's kind of a recurring trend with a lot of these portal editions, like the Singleton level portal editions, where we're kind of going after guys that are multi-year guys who are more developmental pieces and are kind of more projected starters down the road than starters this season, which is interesting.
Yeah, I would agree. It's just, I hope we take another corner because I think, did we mention earlier in the show before? Where, D. John's hurt. We don't know how healthy he can be. We don't really know the severity of things. And Cormani still needs a good bit of development. Ben Hanks and Javari Flowers, highly rated guys, even showed a little bit as a freshman, but, they're probably still like a year away from you being comfortable with them as starters, or, maybe they break out during the season, but going into the year, you still would like to see another name in that room. And I don't think Kanye Clark is that. Although, he made graduation.
She did make graduation. No, I mean, I think that if there were to be a Xavier Lucas type situation with a top corner, I think you would probably see Florida throw their hat in the ring on that one, because I think that is probably the most pressing need. I mean, I know people really want defensive line, and we'll talk about that too in a second, but I think you could convince me that the pieces you have on the defensive line are enough right now. I'm not sure you could convince me of that at corner.
That's fair. But speaking of defensive line, so between us going live today and us being live last Sunday, we got a commitment from Samu Talamanupepe. That's what we're going with there. From originally from A&M, then went to Baylor. 370 pounds, 6'3", 375 pounds, so a monster of a human being, transferred. But the other day, he ends up flipping to go play for Colorado. So I think this would have been like that nose tackle type you're looking for, because who's our biggest D lineman right now on the roster? I think it's probably McLeod. Yeah,
I mean, is he bigger than Bet?
I believe he is by like a good amount of pounds, if I'm not mistaken. This is also based on the last year's roster. We don't know what these guys would be right now, but McLeod is only 294. I thought he was a bit bigger than that. Here, I'm gonna look at the roster here. 2025.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely lacking someone of that caliber for sure. Like the 6'3", 376. There's not really anyone like built like that on this team.
So it might be Lions. Okay. So Lions is 318. So he was 318 going into last season.
So 60-pound difference basically between him and Samu.
Yes. But I will mention something that was pointed out to me. Do you know the size of Indiana's largest defensive lineman?
I don't know it off the top of my head, but I know it's not. I know they're not big. Like I know the size differential between them and Alabama was ridiculous on the line.
310 pounds.
That's crazy.
So for how good Indiana's D-line played, they were a smaller defensive line, and I kind of I think I mentioned it last year going into the year where, Caleb Banks was our biggest D lineman. He was like we had Burrow as well. Well, I was getting at the point in Michigan where they had like 2 first rounders with Graham and who's the other defensive lineman they had in the first round last year?
I'm blanking on his name.
Yeah,
I know Mason Graham. I can't remember the other one.
But they had 2 first rounders and everything. Like third largest D lineman was also like 330 pounds, and then like a lot of guys in that 300 range. So it's like maybe having a big nose tackle, isn't as important as it once was. But I do think we need more bodies in this room as of now.
100%. And I mean, maybe it is just depth that you need, but you need more bodies like that. And I would expect that they will. I expect that they will add some, especially with Samu flipping to Colorado. You got to imagine that they have some sort of contingency plan there, some sort of backup plan, because they did need someone to kind of fill the role that he would have filled even as depth. And I would expect they still go try to get that.
And, we currently have Mason Clinton from Southern Miss on campus, 6'5", 300 pounds, and the sophomore is what he's listed as on ESPN. So, we'll know his actual size, but they do have him on campus as another name. Brian Taylor entering the transfer portal as he's applying for eligibility. I don't expect him to come back, but that was interesting because, honestly, I wasn't even expecting him to be here next season anyways, but knowing that he had another season of eligibility and he's not returning, I wonder what that conversation was kind of like, because we saw some promise from him, especially as a pass rusher while Caleb Banks was hurt. So I don't know what their thought process or what their thoughts with Brian Taylor was.
Yeah, because he would have had a role. Like he would have seen the field, I think, this year just as a veteran at kind of a thin position. So yeah, that was a little interesting. I mean, again, I think just kind of an area where, okay, like, if that's, they clearly are very decisive with a lot of these guys in terms of who they want to fight to keep, who they don't. And we'll just kind of have to see how it pans out. But yeah, that is interesting because I would say you still look a little thin on the defensive line, especially like the interior. But I think you could even maybe use some more edge depth too.
I will say about Emmanuel Oye that he said, so I'm pretty sure he said it's going to be defensive end, but for what I'm hearing, there's just no way he plays D end, and he's going to be mostly at tackle. Yeah, at D tackle. And what that means is, maybe you could use another edge rusher, but I think with Jaden Woods, Cam James, Wiggins, McCray, Ford, McCoy, like your other freshmen, like
you still have Asare too, right? In the mix.
Yeah, Asare too. Yeah. So it's like you have all those guys there still. So, and if you do have Oye at D tackle, maybe you can play both there, and then you have Bet, Lions, your 2 freshmen, Mbachu and McLeod, plus bring Gervil in. There's probably someone I'm forgetting as well, like if bringing Clinton as well. Like I could see the room being good. You just don't have that breakout star. I mean, I think one of the 2 freshmen will break out this year. I mean, I'm a big fan of Mbachu, so there's that. But it would be nicer to be going into the season with a bit more proven production there.
Yeah, I think the defense as a whole is a little concerning in that way, outside of the linebacker group and maybe outside of the top level edges. Like I think interior defensive line and secondary, it's not necessarily, I'm not saying it's going to be bad because there's potential there. It's just it's hard to feel great about it just because a lot of these guys we truly don't know.
I mean, I feel good about safety. I feel good about linebacker and
safety. I should just say corner. I should just say corner and maybe
it's corner and D tackle that are really your concerns.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, corner could be the biggest weakness on the team, and corner, it can really hurt you in this league. I mean, I'm not thinking about our current schedule, but like when we played Tennessee, our corners were getting killed against Tennessee. Same thing against like Ole Miss, and in the end of that Georgia game, like you got to have good corners, and we have the talent. Just we would have let me. If you have Jontez Williams, we're probably completely fine with that room right now. We're 100%, like 95% happy about that room, and it's just like, hey, have one more guy step up. So now you got to have 2 players step up there. I mean,
well, yeah, because then you would have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
Oh no, that was it.
I was saying, like, because if you did that, you would then have like Cormani coming off the bench, and I think Cormani is your first corner off the bench. You feel great about that situation because he's not he's definitely not like a complete liability. He has his moments, but I think he needs to take a step forward if he's going to be like a every week starter in 2026, which kind of needs to be as things currently stand right now.
Yeah, I agree. Getting on next to our latest commitment, Jalen Lloyd, receiver, Nebraska and Oklahoma State. This is kind of just another depth piece, but there is a little bit to Lloyd, I will say. If you look at his stats here, in 2025 he didn't play, or he had one carry for 1 yard. So I'm assuming he got injured on that play or something. But in 2024,
in 2 games apparently.
Okay. But in 2024, 13 catches for 255 yards, so 19.6 average. But in 2023, as a freshman at Nebraska, 6 catches, 237 yards, 39.5 yard average, and 3 touchdowns. So it seems like he's a big play merchant, which I mean, I wouldn't complain about. I don't know if we exactly have that type of big play type of player, and maybe you can get playing time, maybe not. That's just kind of just to get you to that 10th wide receiver in the room, which we had last year, and most teams do have 10 plus receivers on their roster. So, I think it's a solid addition, and I mean, maybe if you can get a couple big plays out of him throughout the year, like I wouldn't probably be a plus addition.
Yeah, it's just very interesting to me how much they've prioritized the receiver position in the portal so far. I mean, the guys they've taken, but also just the guys they've pursued. I mean, they've just gone after a ton of them, a ton of both obviously starting level with Singleton, who we expect to be wide receiver 3, and then, ton of depth guys too, between like Lloyd, Mike Mays, Bailey Stockton. They've really been aggressive in filling that position. I mean, Jalen Lloyd is interesting because, like you said, kind of a big play merchant, potentially a skill set that Florida doesn't really have, as at least from what we know. I mean, I've seen some clips from him from his time at Nebraska. I mean, he's an interesting athlete. Like, there's definitely potential there. It's intriguing to say the least. Again, it might just be a battle to see the field is the only thing, depending on where he kind of stands among those transfer additions. But I mean, it's clear to me, I'm very curious kind of what the offense is going to look like, because you would think with all these running backs that they're going to run the ball a lot, but also, it's clear that Buster Faulkner wants a very deep and very, just promising receiver core.
Well, if you look back at Buster Faulkner's, his coach tree and everything, like he comes from an air raid system. So he's going to try to spread the ball out, so you're going to get good receivers out wide. Maybe have a tight end in there as well, and you can run the ball through that, like spreading the field, maybe making it less of a physicality game, but making it more of a speed game. But I mean, you're going to have a physical running back in Jaden Ball, which is probably a good thing for Florida, because I mean, speed in open space is something that we've been begging from Napier for a long time and never got. And it seems to be the thing that they're preaching on this offense. And I mean, look at all of our receivers, like Vernell Brown, Eric Singleton. You go to the 2 deep, you're going to have, you have a lot of speed there. Like, you have physicality with like Dallas Wilson and Micah Mays, but like, it's a lot of speed. And I mean, I'm not complaining about Dallas Wilson at all. That physicality there, but it's a lot of speed that you're going to be able to put out wide, that teams are like, okay, your linebacker is going to be questioning, like, okay, do I fully go run? But like, if I do that, their receiver is going to be able to run straight past me and everything like that. So I think it's just a lot of depth. And I mean, I don't know how many plays and snaps these guys are going to get throughout the season, but I'm not going to complain about having a lot of really good receivers.
Yeah. No, and they've given themselves a lot of really interesting chess pieces in the receiver room and just in the offense in general. I mean, like I've said it before, but I think if Philo or Trammell, or whoever wins the job, is serviceable and the offensive line, I'm not even saying is great, but it just isn't a complete liability, you got to think you could have a pretty successful offense here. I mean, I would certainly say at this moment in time, I have a lot more questions about the defense than I do the offense, because I think there's just a embarrassment of riches when it comes to offensive playmakers on this roster.
JLB here real quick. Do you guys know how much eligibility Cormani has left?
2? 1?
That's what I was thinking, 2. Should be 2.
That's what I thought.
Okay, I had a thought. Oh yeah, So you mentioned how you're a bit more worried about the defense. I mean, about the defense and offense, and I kind of agree with you because I think the holes on the defense are like, okay, this could be a disaster or this could be a home run, or I mean, this could be a disaster. Well, on the offense, it's like, okay, you have a great OC, and a great OC like with this talent. Even if the QB just ends up not working out, like you're gonna be able to have a good short game with your running backs, with your receivers. Like there's gonna be a floor to this offense that I don't think you have to the defense. Where this defense, I could see the corners getting picked apart, and the defensive tackles, getting pushed around on the interior of the other team's offense. So I agree with you, but I do think there is still that. I think the defense could still be really good. You got to remember, Summerall's a defensive guy.
Yeah,
he's a defensive coach, and you bring Brad White, who at Kentucky every single year. I mean, the last couple of years hasn't been as great, but he's worked with inferior talent, and for the most part, produced top half of the SEC defenses. On like, I think he's there for 7 years, and like 5 of the 7 years they were in the top half of the SEC. A lot of those years better than ours. So there is still more talent. It's just got to be developed on defense.
Oh, yeah. No, I totally agree. I'm not like sitting here saying I think the defense is going to be bad. I just think it requires more projection than the offense does. And you kind of walked out. Like, it's just easy to see the ways potentially that the defense could be a problem. But I think that was a really good point you made about the offense, because like that is true. Even if the offensive line is kind of a problem this year, even if it is the weak link, that is something you can scheme around. And I think the air raid in particular really helps you scheme around it. Like the air raid really is kind of a system built for winning when you are disadvantaged on the offensive trenches. I mean, look at Mississippi State. I mean, that's how they when they had Mike Leach, like that's how they managed to still be successful and competent in the SEC, even when they had an offensive line that was overmatched by almost every SEC defense they were going to face. But you can kind of scheme around that. So I think that's a good point too.
Yeah, and Philo, Trammell, like one of these guys are going to be able to run a simple offense with all this talent. So I'm not as worried, but when we play those those great defenses like Oklahoma, like that's when you could get worried. But I mean, I think Ole Miss. Did we play Ole Miss before Auburn? We played Ole Miss.
No, before. Auburn's the SEC opener. It's Auburn then Ole Miss, I believe.
It's like we're gonna be able to learn a lot, and it's like these aren't great teams, but these are teams where it's like, okay, this could be the difference between our offense being average or our offense being good or our offense being great. Because I have a lot of questions with those defenses. And if we're able to go up there and have a really good offensive showing at Auburn and then home against Ole Miss, we could be looking at a pretty fruitful season.
I mean, I'd even say like, frankly, and maybe this is stupid, but I even think like if it looks great against was it week 1 is FAU, correct?
That I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, like if it looks great against even FAU, because I mean, look, under Billy, it's not like the offense was like absolutely torching the like G5 teams they would play for the most part.
That's true.
I mean, they would do it to FCS teams, but like, so I mean, even that I think would tell me something. But obviously, yeah, I mean that Auburn game is going to be a huge test, but could be problem units there in this first 2 games. So yeah, we'll certainly find out. I mean, I'm optimistic to see. And again, I'm just curious. I think we might have kind of a tell going in just based on how the quarterback battle plays out. Like if it's just definitively Philo the whole way, I think that would probably tell you something, or especially the other way around. I think if it was definitively Trammell the whole way, if
Trammell wins the job, I'm going to be very high on this offense.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, especially if it's like something that's clear in the spring already, because I think that would require a really big leap on his part, and also just convincing Buster Faulkner to play him over his handpicked guy. So
yeah. And I mean, you mentioned that Auburn game. I mean, I mentioned it about our offense, or I mean, even the FAU game, but that Auburn game, they're going to be running that veer and shoot style, that Tennessee style that, Golish is bringing from Tennessee to USF, now to Auburn. I think it's going to be interesting because they're going to be running that style, though I question a lot of the talent on that Auburn team and a lot of the G5 pickups. I mean, basically bringing USF to Auburn. So if we're able to defensively and our corners are able to stop Auburn, then it's going to be like, okay, maybe they're still not as proven, but they're still able to beat teams that they're more talented than. So that Auburn game is going to tell a lot for the season.
And not to get too ahead of ourselves, but like these guys on defense that are coming back have played against Byron Brown before.
They have.
And, I think we both agree that the strength of the defense right now is the linebackers. And I mean, that's a big matchup for those linebackers against a guy who can run the ball the way Byron Brown can. So I think that is an interesting dynamic in that game. Again, not to get too ahead of ourselves, but that will be, I think, a game that tells us a lot just about the trajectory. I mean, like, I'll just be honest. I think if Florida loses that game, I would probably say it's trending toward a mediocre year one, just because I think that is not one of the tougher games you're going to have to play.
Yeah, like unless Auburn, maybe Byron Brown just is the best QB in the country, and that's like the only way. But that's not happening.
Yeah.
Unless, but no, I doubt that's going to happen. No, but yeah, I mean that Auburn game is going to be really interesting because they have. I mean, I really question what Golish did there with the portal, and I mean what they lost and what they brought in. I mean, I'm going to pull up their portal rankings here real quick because I was looking at this the other day. Where do you think they rank in the on-3 portal rankings? So that includes what you lost.
Okay. I'm going to guess they're like 35.
I'm still scrolling. I'm hitting load more.
Oh, no. I think the load more cutoff is like, they're 64th?
Yes.
Oof. Yeah, I mean, look, just imagine what the temperature of this fan base would have been if Florida's portal class was 20 Tulane guys. Like, not saying that's not going to work for Auburn, but
imagine if we had lost Dallas Wilson, Jaden Ball, Jaden Woods, Renell Brown, because they lost Cam Coleman, Robert Woodard, all their corners, and Eric Singleton. Although, I mean, he was never returning to Auburn; he was either going to NFL or transferring. But they lost all of those guys. And I mean, they lost 8. So they lost 1 5-star transfer in Cam Coleman and 7 4-star transfers compared to Florida, who had lost 1 4-star transfer.
Being who?
DJ Lagway.
Oh, yeah, of course. Okay. So I mean, the 1 4-star loss was a guy that Florida, from all indications, did not really try to retain. I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but that is certainly how it seems to be.
And there's a very legit argument that DJ Lagway was he was statistically one of the worst QBs in college football last year.
Isn't he ranked ahead of Mensa in the portal, which is hilarious? I think Mensa's 6.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that wasn't actually how it was supposed to. That's how it was. So I think that was Mensa's high school ranking.
Oh, okay.
I'll double check. But if I'm not mistaken, that was his high school ranking.
I saw someone post that, and just with the way the portal rankings work, it wouldn't shock me if that were the case, because the transfer portal rankings, as we've talked.
No, that's his transfer ranking.
That's real. Yeah, I mean, like we've talked about, transfer rankings are so farcical. I mean, they're fun to flex a top 10 class if you get one, but I think team ranking is one thing. I think player ranking is completely farcical when it comes to the portal.
Yeah, I agree. It's just, I mean, they're overranking these QBs in the portal. And I mean, underranking, I'd say they're underranked Mensa a bit, but
I love me some Drew Mestamaker, but is he the 3rd best player available in the transfer portal? Does anyone actually believe that?
No, I mean, or Sorsby or Levitt,
yeah.
I'd probably go down and take majority of these guys on the list over them. It's just they're a QB. So, and I mean, Raiola, 15th ranked player in the portal, going to be the backup at Oregon this year.
By the way, him being behind Lagway is kind of wild to me too, considering he was
They do have the same ranking. They are the same grade.
Okay.
But
got it.
And that's the same.
I think he should still be higher.
Levitt
I mean,
in the 5 stars.
Say what you will about Raiola, but he had his moments. He looked like he could be the guy at times.
Yeah, that's fair. But let's move on a bit here. Let's get into our national championship game predictions here.
Yeah.
And I was surprised. So FanDuel has this spread at Indiana minus 8.5. So minus 108 there on that 8.5, and minus 340 on the money line. Over under of 47.5. I think we're both going to take Indiana in this game pretty confidently. Yeah. So it's really about, I guess, let's pick the spread here.
Yeah.
I'm in the over under because I'm going to say it's the under. I'm going to take the under of 47.5 in this game.
I'll go. No, I'm going over on that. I'm going over on that.
And I'll also take Miami to cover. I think Indiana wins, but I'll take Miami to cover.
I don't take them to cover. I think Indiana wins and covers. I think they could kill them. Like, I think they could just do what they've been doing and just absolutely run them out of the building. I think that's it on the table. I don't really expect it, but I think they win by 10 at least. I think I'm feeling like I think they win by like 31-17 or something, or at least, or something like that. Like, I think, because I think Beck's going to make some mistakes in this game. I think they will bait him the way that they were able to bait like Dante Moore on that first play of the game in the semifinal, because he will fall for that kind of stuff. I mean, they lost to Louisville basically on that kind of thing. So, and like Miami has the advantage in the trenches, but that hasn't really seemed to matter. Like, Indiana's offensive line's been overmatched. They're still running the ball.
So can I say this though?
Yeah.
Alabama, their defensive line hasn't been good, really. I mean, it's been mediocre all season. Oregon hasn't played anybody besides Indiana, where they already lost and they were already able to blow Oregon off the line in that game anyways. Like, I think Miami's the best D-line in the country and best O-line in the country. Like, is that fair to say?
Yeah, probably. But I mean, Oregon did play like Texas Tech and held their own in the trenches in that game. It was not even outplayed them in the trenches in that game, I would say.
I mean, their D-line was better than Texas Tech's O-line, but Texas Tech's offense was also just not good this year.
No, it wasn't. But I mean, I still think that was impressive to me. And they did it to Ohio State too. I mean, the Ohio State game wasn't prolific. It wasn't one of these games where they killed them.
And Ohio State's O-line was in question as well. Like, after the Texas game, they'd only scored 14 points. And, Florida, you saw what we did against Texas, and that defense for Texas was a bit questionable this year. So it's like, it's questioning like, oh, well, this team was just overrated, or I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, like, I think Miami might be a tier above those other teams in the line of scrimmage. Because they have it's not just they have 5 stars and big players. They have guys that are proven players that are going to be, first round, second round picks and everything like that. So I think Carson Beck is going to be the deciding factor, because I don't think Miami's going to be able to score enough points in this game.
No.
I just wonder if Miami's going to be able to run the ball enough, which I think that's what Cignetti knows. That's how Miami can keep this game close. And I take the under. Like, I think this would be like a 20-13 type of game.
I mean, I could see that. That wouldn't shock me. I think it's kind of what you said. I think Cignetti is so good, and just the staff in general is so good at just scouting and game planning. Like, I think they are going to come in with a rock solid plan for how to win this game. I think they will find ways to move the ball, even as good as Miami's front seven is, because that's just what they do. They just find ways to move the ball. I mean, their offensive talent. I mean, those 3 receivers, Cooper, Surratt, and Becker they're really good players. And I think they will make some plays, even against a good Miami defense. And again, I think it really just comes down to Carson Beck has mostly been smart in taking care of the football so far in the playoffs, but I think he's going to get stuff thrown at him defensively that he's not prepared for and that he's susceptible to. So that's why I don't think Indiana runs him out of the building, but I think Beck will throw like 2 interceptions, and that's going to be enough for them to win by double digits.
That's fair. Yeah, the talent disparity and the size disparity, I should say, in the lines of scrimmage is just enough to be like, okay, I think Miami's going to keep this as a 1-score game.
Yeah.
But I mean, you mentioned the receivers, like those Indiana receivers just catch everything that's thrown their way.
They're so good, man.
Like what they were doing to Oregon's corners, like every third down, just throwing it to the outside corner or outside fade, and they'd always come down with the ball. Like, Miami's DB secondary is its weakness. It's just usually not. Teams don't have enough time to try and break it. Although they have some good secondary players, like it's not terrible at all. But like if Indiana can block that D line enough to where Indiana's receivers have a chance to make a play, then that could make it to where this is a game to where Indiana's in control and it's never really even close.
I also think they're just going to be able to run the ball in spite of, because they just, again, they've managed to do it even against good defensive lines. And if they do, I mean, if Indiana is running the ball, then I don't really know what the path to victory is for Miami. Like if Indiana is able to consistently move the ball, I don't think there is a path to victory for Miami, to be honest.
Yeah, if Indiana can run the ball, then yeah, Miami's done. This game's over. But
yeah,
I don't know if it's just that simple as Indiana's gonna be able to run the ball.
No, they might not be. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But let's also get into some Gator basketball talk here, as the basketball team picks up a huge victory over Vanderbilt. And I think this is the game that really changes everything, because you were able to get on that win streak where you beat Georgia at home, you beat Tennessee, and then you mollywopped Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma just had a close game with Alabama. Like, Oklahoma arguably should have won that game against Alabama, who people are like second, third best team in the SEC right now. So maybe Oklahoma isn't as bad as Florida made them look. But looking at the betting odds now, FanDuel has Florida as a minus 180 favorite to win the SEC. And yeah, I mean, we knew if Florida beat Vandy, we would be the favorite. How much? I honestly thought we'd be a bit more of a favorite than we currently are. And I mean, we play LSU, and LSU, pretty bad. They got their first victory. They beat Missouri.
That would be a frustrating home loss for sure. I think Florida should be fine there.
But we pick up that victory. Vandy has to go to Arkansas, who just got upset by Georgia. No, I mean, it was at Georgia, so maybe it wasn't as big of an upset. But if Arkansas beats Vandy on a 3-game losing streak, I think they're going to really fall out of that SEC title conversation. And we could be a massive favorite to win the SEC, after Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say to me right now, Alabama kind of feels like the biggest threat just because they're the team I kind of trust the most to be playing their best basketball later in the season. But I think they have their own problems. I mean, look, I got to give Todd Golden credit, man. This team is really rounding into form, and in the span of not a very long period of time, it's gone from, I was worried about this being a tournament team after the Missouri loss, legitimately. I was like, this is going to be a bubble team. Now, I mean, this could be a 2-seed kind of team.
Yep.
I mean,
absolutely.
The only remaining, the Vandy game was the only remaining projected loss per KenPom, I'm pretty sure.
Yep. You're right.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that Florida's going to win out and go 26-5 or whatever, but they could. I mean, I think it's possible. Yeah, I mean, this team, the front court's been great all year, but it's really hitting another level right now, and you're getting at least better play out of the guards. And we'll see what happens, but I think this team is really rounding into form, and I think it's just a credit to Todd. We know how great of a coach he is.
And you know what I think the difference has been, or was, in that Vandy game particularly? Like, Xavier Lee had a great game where he went for 20 points. It's like Boogie only had 7, but Boogie had that 7, but he wasn't bad in that game. Like, in those earlier losses against Arizona, Boogie was bad. Or against, was it UConn or Duke? Whatever. Like, the other guard was bad in one of those games. Like, in our losses, maybe one of them would have a good game, but the other guard was, like, bad to horrible. But in this game, Lee was great, and Boogie was serviceable. I mean, Boogie made some great plays in that game, actually.
Yeah.
Like, you could argue Boogie played good, just not great at that game. So
I think Boogie's developing really nicely on defense too. Like, he's making a lot of plays on the defensive end of the ball.
He absolutely is. And then you get Urban Klausar off the bench playing well, and Isaiah Brown just going out there and having 14 points, if I'm not mistaken, hitting 2 threes. And I mean, that putback dunk. Like, if you keep getting good plays from, if you get one good and one average play from your guards, and one of your guards off the bench can give you some solid play, like, this front court is going to be great. I mean, Chinyelu, has Chinyelu been the best player on this team since?
Dude, yeah, Chinyolu's an All-American. Chinyolu's an All-American. Like, he is a absolute superstar.
Like, are we talking about Houck and Chinyelu on the first team, All SEC at this point?
Yes.
As of today, yeah. And Defensive Player of the Year in the SEC, like.
Yeah, like, no, literally. The two best players in the SEC, and they're in the same front court. It's crazy. Or at least arguably the two best players in the SEC.
And Chinyolu's now made, what? I think it's like 21 of his last 23 free throws. I mean, he was 6 for 6 yesterday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's like 12 of 12 in his last 3 games, I think, or something like that I saw. So, yeah, I mean, we've been good at the line, which is crazy because Vandy was like, insanely good. They were like insane at the line yesterday.
So
And
they
Florida
started that
still,
game 18 of 18 and finished
Yeah.
20 of 22.
Yeah.
So down the stretch, they missed 2 of their last 4, but I mean, they were 18 of 18 before that. I was getting so frustrated when I saw that they kept making every single free throw. So, I mean, this team's just playing better and better. And, you know, Alex Condon, we don't even mention, like, Condon had a good game as well against Vandy. And it's like, coming into the year, I mean, Condon was first team All-American, which was really weird because I think he was like second team All-SEC going into the season. But, like, this front court is just, it's so good to where you're having players who are going to be, I mean, Condon at this point, it's like, is he third team All-SEC? Maybe, maybe not. But, like, he's that good. But your other 2 guys are first teamers.
Yeah. Yeah, like he's a great third best player in the front court. He's an elite third best player in the front court. Yeah, I mean, I think that game yesterday was so interesting to me and just so impressive because, like, if you tell me the guards are playing pretty well and you're not shooting abysmally, even from long range, what is the formula to beat this team? I would say there really isn't one except for just maybe hit every single shot you take. And that's basically what Vandy was doing. I mean,
oh my God.
They were hitting everything.
Like, until the final 2 possessions, Vandy was scoring every single drive. I felt like they shot like 80% in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, to win a game on the road, just the way we're built to win a game on the road against a team that's just shooting like that. I mean, that is kind of the mountain we had not climbed yet. And that the fact that they were able to go get that win is extremely encouraging. And I mean, it's why, you know, can you get the guard play for 6 straight games in March and April? I don't know. That maybe not. But it's why, I mean, you can see this team is good enough to beat anyone on any given night. This is a top 3 to 5 team when it's on and everything's going the way it should.
Michigan, who, I mean, at one point, Michigan was like unstoppable. You know, they got upset by Wisconsin last week and they played a close game with Oregon. Like, Michigan looks a lot more beatable now. Like, Michigan kind of reminds me of Auburn from last season, where early in the season, they were dog walking good teams. But now, I mean, great team being like, but now that they're getting to conference play, they're slowing down a bit. They're still going to be they're still a really good team. Like, they could still easily finish the 1 seed. But I'm like, okay, that's a team we can beat. Like, compared to earlier in the season where it's like, I don't know if anyone can beat that team if they play like that all year.
Yeah, Arizona is just a wagon. They're an absolute wagon. That's the only one that I don't know. I mean, obviously we played them. We saw how it went. We had a chance. So, I mean, I'm not going to say Florida
that game was in Vegas.
Yeah, I'm not going to say Florida can't beat them. But they're the only team I've seen that I'm like, this is clearly a better team. Or this is clearly a better looking team than Florida right now. I mean, Duke even, like, Florida was a last second 3-pointer away from beating Duke at Cameron. And sort of the same with UConn at MSG, which is a de facto road game. So yeah, man, this team can play with anyone. They're hitting their stride right now. I mean, it is kind of funny that this team literally has a better shot probably at winning the SEC regular season than last year's team, but that's just the way, you know,
right.
down year in the SEC. And I mean, this is the team that looks the most up right now. So
yeah, I mean, we're currently 11th for both offensive and defensive efficiency on Ken Pom. This offense was, I think, like in the 30s and 20s, like after that Missouri game, and has jumped all the way to 11th. They scored 90 points in 7 of the last 8 games. Like, this team is really starting to heat up, and you get LSU, which, you know, no free wins in SEC play, but like that should be one of the easiest games you play in SEC. And then you get an Auburn team that's just not what we thought they would be in the preseason. So you get back-to-back wins there. You're looking as good as it looks to be the SEC champs. Going into the Vandy game, ESPN had our percentage at like 60% to win the SEC. I don't know what it is after that Vandy game, but 60% before it was insane.
I mean, are we on top of the standings? Is anyone else 4-1?
So A&M is 4-1.
Okay.
And A&M is one of the weirdest teams. Like,
they are a weird team.
They play a lot of close games. But earlier in the year, they were really bad. And now they're starting to win games. So, you know, give them credit for that. So, and Kentucky is 2 losses.
I don't know what to make of Kentucky. I don't think they're good, but how much were they down by? I couldn't believe that they won yesterday, because when I stopped watching, they were down like 15.
In the last 2 games, so they've won the last 2 games, but while leading for a total of 100 seconds.
That's unreal.
They've led for less than 2 minutes, and they've won their last 2 games.
Is it time for a Mark Pope apology form, Big Blue Nation? What's the?
I mean,
are we gonna stop clowning our boy?
and
Because they do not
host,
like him, man. They really don't like him.
No, I mean, I don't blame them. Like the way they beat LSU, like, oh my god. And then
that was insane. That was actually ridiculous. By the way, Matt McMahon. Well, LSU is gonna open. I'm just telling you right now, LSU is gonna open. There's no chance he's keeping that job.
You know what's crazy? LSU is 44th in KenPom.
I don't really get it because like they didn't even play a super tough non-conference and they lost to like I think the one good team they played was like Texas Tech and they lost.
They got blown out. Yeah.
And they beat SMU, which is aged pretty well. That's it.
Yeah,
I mean, they're top 30. They're 33 in net. Like that's not bad.
I mean, that's a quad. That's almost a quad 1 game for us. Jeez.
Yeah.
Like 3-point loss to A&M, 10-point loss home to South Carolina,
which was worse. Remember, they were down like 30 and like made that look closer than it was. You're
right.
Killed.
Yep. And then they should have beat Kentucky, and then they beat Missouri. How is Missouri 55th and?
Well, they're creeping up because they were like 70 a week ago.
You're right.
So they are. That definitely is the loss that will. I mean, right now, that's kind of the thing. Like in perspective with our team, like when you look at the start of the season now, kind of in retrospect, like we're 5-5 in quad 1 games. No one else has played 10 quad 1s. That's the most in college basketball. I mean, we'll see how many of those hold. Like that's what I saw yesterday. Oklahoma is kind of teetering. TCU is kind of teetering. Missouri, we'll see how things play out. Yeah, they're 68 in the net. So their net's still pretty low on Missouri. So some of those are kind of borderline quad 1s right now. But for the time being, all of Florida's losses are quad 1, and they have 5 quad 1 wins, which is pretty good. So
yeah. Did we play George Washington? Right? We played them neutral.
Yeah, that's quad 2.
That's 76th.
That's pretty safely quad 2. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they would have to somehow jump 26 spots. So.
Well, I meant like not at risk of becoming quad 3 is more what I meant.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. I was trying to see if I technically become quad 1, but
yeah.
No. I mean, we're still 15th in that. I mean, are we? We're tied 3rd in the country in quad 1 wins.
I'm surprised we only moved up 1 spot from beating Vandy because we were 16 yesterday.
We're still below Vandy somehow. Who, I mean, we have more quad 1 wins than Vandy.
Yeah, that's kind of wild.
I mean, yeah, but we'll move on from basketball now. We still got one more segment to talk about here. So something that's kind of been going around Twitter, in our own message groups, a bit of frustration, you would say, with Florida and their lack of aggression. Did not mean to rhyme there, in the portal. You look at Miami, who seemingly is the team that's going to land Darian Mensah. Like, I don't think that's really much of a question. And you're starting to get Gator fans who are a bit upset that we aren't going around and, tampering to get like a Darian Mensah type. Now, I think it's specifically Darian Mensah that gets people riled up because Mensah was at Tulane with John Summerall, Joe Craddock, the QB coach. Like, he was with them. He was their guy. And we just went with the backup from Georgia Tech. And Miami's going to and tampering to get Darian Mensah. So, like, I want to get your quick opinion on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, Florida, I mean, it seems to me like Florida probably tampered to get Eric Singleton. So I don't think it's not like, to me, it doesn't seem like it's like they're not doing it at all. But I mean, I get where people are coming from. And I've seen, especially in the context, because one thing we haven't talked about, Florida in the top 4 for Elijah Haven, one of the top 2027 quarterbacks.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of people say, kind of in relation to that, why would you pay $3 million for a high school kid who may not be good and may leave when you could go get a sure thing for double that? I mean, I think there's a point to be made there. I mean, people point at Miami's strategy. They've done it 2 years in a row with Cam Ward and Beck. I mean, I'd push back on that a little bit because Cam Ward was a first overall caliber player and they still lost 2 games and missed the playoffs. And I mean, Beck's got him there. They might get it done tomorrow night, but I also don't think, like, I think you could have swapped Beck for a not $4.5 million quarterback. And I'm not sure you get a massively different outcome.
I agree.
So, I mean, I think there's a time and place to do that kind of thing. But frankly, I don't think that time and place is year one when you just have a lot of needs on the roster you need to fill. Like when you're a quarterback away from a championship run, like, yeah, go pay $6 million to get a quarterback. I just don't think that's where Florida was at right now, even though that's where obviously people want Florida to be.
So you mentioned Haven and everything. I think something that's worth noting. So we take Philo. Philo is Faulkner's guy. This wasn't our boosters. This wasn't the coaching staff cheaping out on a quarterback. Like, if they had someone who was a lot more proven in the portal, that was his guy. Like, if Haynes King had, probably not Haynes King based on what I've heard, but if there was another guy like that they had that was proven, or, a former 5-star, and they brought him over here and they paid him a bit more, like, they would have paid him a bit more money. But, you bring in Philo. Philo's I doubt he's just one and done. I mean, if he's one and done good,
he would have to be incredible to be one and done. Yeah.
But yeah, if he's one and done good, we're probably talking about us as a playoff contender there. But you're probably getting Philo for multiple years to where you can bring in that other QB, that 5-star freshman. I also have a pretty good feeling that we're going to see that the QB market in the recruiting ranks is going to drop. I think you look at Elijah Haven's top 4: Florida, Georgia, Auburn, Alabama. Now, I think Auburn, you could argue, I think there's an argument that those 4 schools aren't teams that are going to be the ones that, like, Oregon, Miami, Texas, like the ones that are like, oh, they're paying the top dollar, even though he is the number 1 quarterback. And I mean, you can see it with Auburn, and I'm pretty sure their boosters even said that they're going to start paying based on production, which, it's not like fully true. They're obviously going to pay for recruits, everything like that. But like, I wouldn't expect to see Auburn going out and paying this 5-star QB $5 million like you would for a transfer QB like a Sorsby or Levitt's getting. So I do think we will see a drop in the market a bit for these QBs. And I think that could just be, 1, the teams going after them, like I mentioned with Oregon and Miami. And 2, these programs realizing, like, okay, I mean, just look at us. Look how much money we just paid DJ Lagway to go and statistically be one of the worst QBs in college football. Like, if we go out and do that exact same thing where we're paying him that same percentage, well, I mean, the chances that it messes up again are decently high.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that was a really interesting point you made about Haven's top 4, because like while the Miamis and the Oregons and the Texas Techs of the world are doing that, the schools that Florida measures itself against in the SEC, I guess, except LSU now because of the way Lane's approaching it. But, Georgia, Alabama, even Texas to a major degree, they don't really build that way. They are very much, we go get elite high school recruits and we supplement positions of need in the portal. And especially, I mean, Kirby has really not been a portal quarterback guy at all. He's been a homegrown, development, and it's worked out pretty well for them. Same with Alabama. I mean, Bama has some portal guys, but like Austin Mack was a Washington recruit DeBoer brought with him. Doesn't really count in my opinion. Ty Simpson, had been there for years. Keelan Russell, a high school guy. So, I think there's something to be said for that. I just, again, it boils down to, is Sam Levitt worth $6 million? Is Brennan Sorsby worth $6 million? Like, if there's a guy, like if there's an elite player, and I mean, Mensa's the one I think might be worth paying. But I mean, to get him out of his Duke deal, it sounds like Miami, all told, is going to be spending like $10 million at least here.
So that's the rumored deal, but I'm also hearing they might not have to. They might have a workaround. I don't really know.
I mean, this one's going to court, and I think we're finally going to get the like test of our contracts actually enforceable here. I think this is kind of going to be the one where we figure it out a little bit.
Because Damon Williams, who I also think would have been one of the few QBs worth a high price tag, decided to stay at Washington, probably to avoid all of that court stuff, to not have to deal with that. But it's going to be interesting to see what does happen with like Mensa and how these contracts, how they figure them out. I will also mention with Haven, anyone can say money. The money isn't the main factor in that specific recruitment. But from everything I've heard, unless one team is just going and offering heads and shoulders above what everyone else is, I don't necessarily think money is going to be the main force for Haven. Like, I mean, let's say we're all the schools after him are offering him somewhere around $2 million. Not saying that's the number. That's just a same number. But then let's say Miami comes off for $3 million and no one else matches that. Like, then that's obviously going to be a money factor. But if everyone's around that same mark with Haven, it's going to be a lot more like relationships and academics does matter for him.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I think, everyone says just go get the hot portal quarterback. I still think the results with that are kind of hit or miss. I mean, people will point at Fernando Mendoza, but it's not like Fernando Mendoza was like the Sam Levitt of last year's portal class. Like he was up there. I mean, Georgia was interested, Miami was interested. He had suitors, but he wasn't like the premier portal recruit, but he's obviously been the best one. But it's just like, I don't know, a lot of times these don't work out too. And I think you find yourself in a tough cycle where what's up?
I mean, I have it right here. What is this thing doing? I have it right here. You look at the top QB transfers. Nico number 1. Did that work out? I wouldn't say so. Carson Beck.
I think TBD a little bit, but yeah.
Okay, but like him as a number 1, obviously Mendoza was a lot better.
Yeah.
But like Carson Beck number 2, like obviously they're into Natty, but like is Carson Beck that worth it of the prospect?
I mean, again,
I don't think so.
They had a better quarterback last year.
Yep.
And didn't get there. So I don't know.
And John Mateer was pretty bad this year. And then it's Mendoza. And then JKS, who's a true freshman, who was a weird thing with Oregon and them.
Yeah, that was a Dallas.
And then it was Luke Kromenhoek. From FSU. Like, I mean, then Mensa underranked, as we mentioned, and like Murphy, we even like Mark Gronkowski.
I mean, he ended up at Duke. Like, there's a reason he ended up at Duke. He wasn't like.
I mean, Duke paid him a lot of money.
They did pay him a lot of money, but it's not like there are not other schools that could have paid $4 million if they thought Mensa would be the best quarterback in the ACC, which he was this year.
So, like, if you look at the top QB transfers, like, I don't think Nico should be paid, was the best QB there that should have been paid a lot of money, or Beck or Mateer. Like, it's Mendoza. And Mendoza's the only one who really ended up working out like that. Obviously, JKS, as I mentioned, but that was a different type of scenario.
Yeah. No, I think with the quarterback recruiting specifically, again, I think it really is as simple as that's just not a position where it was worth it. I think especially in this class and just this situation with where Florida's at in their rebuild just didn't really make a lot of sense. I think the aggression argument is more valid when you talk about some other spots, when you talk about cornerback, when you talk about the defensive line. Like, and at that point, sorry, what's up?
I think I also want to start somewhere else, actually. I want to start at left tackle. So Jordan Seaton, in particular, enters the portal, was someone that Florida, was really high on his recruiting board when he was coming out of high school. And at one point, it seemed like they were going to land him. And he enters the portal. And we're actually mentioned in the initial reports that Florida is one of the teams to watch. I never really thought that. And from what I was hearing, it would have been a big surprise for us to be really in it for Seaton there. But he visited Miami. He's visiting LSU. He's was supposed to visit Texas, but I think that was canceled. But like, again, Miami and LSU, they're going after the highest ranked offensive tackle prospect in the portal. But here's one thing that I think matters. Seaton's going to be paid almost as much as these QBs are being paid. And this is for a 1-year deal. And it's like, you look at our current portal class and it's like, oh, wow, you go get that certified left tackle. Is it worth it for a 1-year deal to pay $4 million for a left tackle?
Well, and this is more of a legit question than a criticism. Is he that certified left tackle? I mean, super talented guy. Is he that good? Like, genuinely. I mean, I didn't watch a lot of Colorado this year.
So we look a lot. I mean, Twitter, it's all over Twitter, PFF grades. Where it's like, oh, well, this guy sucks because his PFF grade was bad, or this guy's really good because his PFF grade was really good. Jordan Seaton's PFF grade was 66, which isn't bad. Now, but here's the thing: he was actually like ranked in his PFF pass blocking was like an 82, which is pretty good, but his run blocking is in like the 50s. Like, he was a really bad run blocker, and it's like Austin Barber I think his PFF grade was like an 82 overall. And it's like, if you ask people, would you rather have Jordan Seaton or Austin Barber, they would say Seaton because he was a 5-star. Yeah. But like, again, it's PFF. You can't take everything from PFF. But there's going to be a lot of people who will use PFF for someone who was a 3-star. But then if you're a 5-star, it's like, oh, that PFF grade doesn't matter.
No, it's really funny that you say that, because I was literally about to say, like, do people really think Florida should be spending $2-3 million, maybe more, on a guy who is at least, as far as he's proven, less proven than Austin Barber. Like, that's literally what I was going to say.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think Austin Barber was, maybe not elite, but I mean, being a above average starting tackle in the SEC is a valuable thing. Like, if Barber had hit the portal, like in this market, but last year, if Barber hits the portal, he's drawing similar money, I think.
Yeah,
So,
Barber's drawing a ton of money.
yeah.
I also think it's worth mentioning getting 1-year rentals for an offensive line just seems to not work out. It's more about continuity. Now, if we go out into the recruiting class and we don't sign like that many good offensive linemen, like if we don't sign a highly rated guy or a couple of highly rated guys, and we just cheap out on the recruiting end, which I don't expect on the offensive line, then you can complain. But if we go out there and we sign maybe a 5-star or a couple of top rated guys on that in the recruiting ranks there on the offensive line, then I think it's just apparent that they know that, okay, it's year one. You bring continuity. You have a lot of production on the interior. And, you know that you're probably going to be a bit down at the tackles. Hopefully you can scheme around that. Or maybe one of those guys like a Yayon Boyer or a Mika Ogorji end up stepping up or something like that. But, like, it's pretty likely that the transfer portal isn't going to solve your problems on the offensive line. So just save it, spend it in the recruiting ranks. And then I think you can have that panic if we don't spend it on recruits. But right now, from everything I've seen, everything I've heard, I think we're going to probably have our best O-line class since
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because if you don't, like, if you're not investing it in the recruits and you're not recruiting high-level blue-chip offensive line guys, that's a failure of the staff, ultimately, because that was the entire selling point. That's the entire selling point of Troutwine, is the way he's going to recruit and the way he's going to develop the position. Because again, it's really tough. Now that we've had a few years of like real open season in the transfer portal, there's a few examples of heavily portaled offensive lines working. I'd say there's vastly more examples of heavily portaled offensive lines not working. And like you said, the 1-year rental, like, best case scenario, it works. And then that guy moves on and you're still in a position where you're not recruiting and developing. So you have to hit that, roll the dice again on a transfer. And again, it's just very hard. Like, it's hard to project offensive linemen in the portal. They don't, it doesn't always translate the way you think it will.
I mean, there's a perfect example with two other SEC teams where LSU, they go in portal, 2 of the top 6 offensive linemen in the portal. Their offensive line was bad last year.
Yeah.
And Auburn, they had 3 4-star transfers in the portal, and their offensive line was pretty bad last year.
Yeah.
FSU.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is LSU did have to replace a lot of starters, to be fair. Yeah. So it was probably always going to take a step back. But yes, it did not really work for them.
No, I mean, that's kind of my point. Like, just trying to replace everything in the portal just with the offensive line and spending extra money probably isn't going to work. And I think you look at this year's rankings and who these players are committed to. Here, let me get to the offensive line. Second quarterback there, yeah. Offensive line transfer rankings. So Jordan Seaton's number 1. Now, Jordan Seaton's going to end up going somewhere big time. I think there's a difference to that, just getting that. I mean, Seaton's probably going to be projected as like a first-round pick and everything going to next year. But then you look at these next players. Okay, Ole Miss. Okay, so Texas, Kentucky, South Carolina, Kentucky, Indiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, FSU, Washington, Kentucky, Nebraska, TCU. Like, a lot of the top O linemen went to like mediocre schools, you could say. And it's very sparingly where you'll see like a big team, like a A&M. I mean, LSU's in there technically. There's one Texas there, like, and whoever gets Seton, Miami, LSU, or wherever he goes, like, a lot of the top guys or highest ranked guys went to, they probably went a bit cheaper to these lower tier schools because the top tiers know, like, hey, if I'm trying to replace the entire offensive line, it's really not going to work through the portal. So might as well not overspend there.
No, it really is kind of the same dynamic you see in the NFL. Like, elite offensive linemen don't really hit free agency all that often. Like, teams don't let them go. And good teams are going to pay their offensive linemen. So, yeah, I mean, it is part of the reason the Seton thing has blown up so much is because it is just such a thin class at tackle. I mean, Florida didn't have a lot of premier options there. So obviously Seton, just because of what his recruiting pedigree is and as a 2-year starter, like he's going to get that level of, that market. I don't know if investing super heavily there. Like, I think what Florida did in taking 2 tackles that are both kind of projects, but both have intriguing upside, I think that's a pretty understandable decision to make given just what the market looked like this year.
Absolutely. But now let's move on to what you were trying to get to earlier about defensive tackle and cornerback. I guess we'll start at cornerback. As we mentioned earlier in the show, Jontez Williams, missing out on Jontez Williams and then not having another corner visit, really. I mean, I know they had the corner from USF scheduled to visit, but he committed to Georgia Tech. So I wonder how they viewed him there if he's committed to Georgia Tech. But they didn't really go after any other top-tier corners.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of wonder in retrospect, because obviously it seems like what happened is Florida was in on Jontez Williams, and then USC came in and dropped a bag that Florida didn't want to match. I think in retrospect, you can kind of look at what Florida's done in the rest of the class. And I can't say this with certainty because I don't know what the finances look like. I don't know exactly what kind of capital they're operating with. But I think you could probably make a pretty strong case that in retrospect, they probably should have dropped the bag on Jontez Williams.
I would agree.
Because they didn't really do anything else splashy other than Singleton. Like Singleton is probably a pricey addition. And then obviously all the retentions are pricey retentions. But no one else, there was not like a lot of other premier players they went and got in the portal. At least at positions that would command a lot of money. Like the Kentucky safety, I doubt is getting paid a ton of money just because he's a safety.
Yeah. I think you do look at the corners after, because I mean, one of the higher ranked corners is from Tulane in Jaheim Johnson. Well, he went to Arkansas. So maybe there's a reason that they didn't go after him, even though he is from Tulane and everything, was ranked as a 4-star transfer. Like, I mean, maybe there's a reason they decided not to go after Johnson. I mean, he went to Arkansas, as I mentioned. So why wouldn't, one of the top schools go after him as well? So maybe there's something with that. I know Chris Graves from Ole Miss, who's 2-year starter now, like he's in the portal. Maybe we go after him. Maybe we don't. Like there still is an opportunity to, but I mean, outside of Graves, there's really no one else in the portal looking like, oh yeah, that's a starting corner right there.
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, that is the problem, but that is why I think especially like Williams was the guy. He's from Stark. Like, I know. I mean, I don't know what did the reported number end up being? Like $1.5 million for him.
I honestly don't know.
I thought it was something like $1.5–2 million. I mean, that's a lot for a corner. I think maybe probably should have paid it though, because that is going to be a major position of concern. And like, even if everything goes well with the top 4 guys there, you are a couple injuries away from being in a very tough spot there. So it's a concern. That is a major concern that probably they should have done more to rectify, but portal's closed. We'll see if anything happens in the spring, but I would say right now it doesn't look like that's a position where Florida's going to add a starting caliber player. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and then you also mentioned defensive tackle. Now that I'm kind of expecting Emmanuel Oye to play inside at D tackle, again, it's too early to say. It's just it feels like he's going to have to. I don't really see any other ways about it, but like maybe I feel a bit more secure on the D tackle side. But losing Caleb Banks, and I know Caleb Banks didn't play this year, but losing Caleb Banks, it's like, oh, well, Banks he could be a first-round draft pick still. Like, I mean, I see some mocks that have him going in the first round, and you don't have a proven player replacing him. Now, if you do have Emmanuel Oye, who, again, is solid, who could be really good, but I would consider him a Caleb Banks type of player at this point. But then you look in the portal, and, top D tackle is going to Tennessee. And then, 2 others going to like Notre Dame and Ohio State, Texas. Like, it would have been nice to go and get one of those guys.
It is interesting. It does kind of just bring us back to like the broader discussion of Summerall being a defensive guy, but the positions that Florida was most aggressive at were offensive. I mean, all the receivers they got and just hosted, taking 2 really good running backs in addition to keeping Baugh. And, interesting because like Jacoby Jackson going to Ohio State, which
that's interesting.
Pretty surprising to me, but So, but just kind of an aside there. But no, I mean, you were aggressive at running back, aggressive at receiver. I don't want to say aggressive along the offensive line, but I mean, you did take a starting caliber guard. You did take a starting center, or at least starting guard in Harrison Moore. You took 2 potential starters at tackle. So, I mean, it really was, defensively, they kind of, I don't know if they just didn't like the market, didn't like the money these guys were commanding, didn't like the guys themselves, or just feel that confident in what they retained on defense. But it doesn't really feel like they made many positions on defense outside of safety a priority, because safety and nickel, you had to do it. Like, you didn't have guys there that were.
Well, last year we said that about safety as well.
That's true.
They didn't.
But I mean, you literally have to, because Castell's gone now. And Gates and
Denson.
Wait, yeah, Gates and Denson are gone as well. So you kind of had to do it.
Hey, you know who's in the portal? DeAndre Robinson.
Wow. Okay.
Both he and safety. Greg Smith.
Smith was a one and done at UNC.
Both he and Robinson.
Interesting.
I mean, at this point, 6'4", 315. I would take DeAndre.
I would take a flyer. I mean, yeah, buying low on him, sure. I mean, because again, I think you're mostly going for depth along the defensive line. Like, I think you could, the starting level players there, I think you could convince me it's good enough. But I
disagree. I think you have good depth. I think you want a starting level guy there.
Because, so how do you see the starting defensive line looking right now as things currently stand?
Okay, so I guess the way I'll look at it from outside in, so Jaden Woods, obviously. Then I think you're going to have like a battle with like Cam James, who was good. LJ McCray. I think if he's still there, like, I don't know. Maybe they move. Maybe instead of him being like a jack, he's more of a D end. Like, not fully interior, not fully D tackle, but still D end and not fully edge. So like maybe him. If Oye, like, I mean, it's weird. I don't know what's gonna happen with Oye.
I mean, you got to imagine he's gonna be one of those starters, right? Like he seems like good enough to be one of those starters.
Yeah, I would bet he's one of those starters. So I guess if I had to, I would probably go Woods, James, Oye. Who's starting at nose tackle? I mean, it doesn't have to be nose tackle, but who's the other D tackle starter? Maybe one of the freshmen or Bet. That would be my guess right now.
Yeah, probably.
Bet was good last year. Like, that'd probably be my bet. No pun intended there. If I had to guess. I'll say, I mean, DeAndre Robinson, his PFF grade, 67.7. Not bad. 77 run defense. If I'm 70.
Remind me where 74. He went to.
North Carolina.
Oh, they both went to North Carolina. Okay.
Yeah. Like, I mean, DeAndre could compete for that starting role as well. Like, I don't know. Again, it's like we'll see a lot more in the spring. It's too early to tell because you don't have that solidified guy there.
Yeah, I mean, do you think Lyons could be a starter on this team?
I'd love for Lyons to know the story and everything. We just didn't see it last season. Maybe another year healthy. I mean, that injury was really bad, like the bone sticking out and everything. So it's like, maybe, but like, it's hard to see.
He's also an older guy. He's a fifth-year guy. So it's not like a young guy that could still, like, I'm not sure you're getting a huge leap out of him, but maybe just another year removed from the injury, it's better. But yeah, probably more of a depth piece.
Yeah, I would agree.
So yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Maybe you are concerned about missing a starter on the interior. I mean, I don't know if you're getting that at this point, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, I'd say that's the defense is a concern, I think, for sure. It could be good, but I think you've got a couple spots where there's legitimate major concerns.
And I mentioned I'm good about the depth because, again, I mean, if you have your 2 freshmen, you have Bet, you have Lyons. Let's say 2 freshmen from last season. I mean, the 2 sophomores now. You have your 1 freshman in Gervil. Like, I think that's good. You're probably going to bring in Clinton from Southern Miss, whenever he commits, if he does, assuming he does. But like, I think the depth is good. You're missing the starter, in my opinion.
Yeah, Yeah, no, I think that's probably fair.
Yeah, well, is there anything we've missed to talk about on this show? I mean, I'm thinking next week we're gonna do our way too early predictions. I wonder how that's gonna go.
We could probably grade because we were talking about when we're going to grade the portal class. We could probably do it next week if we want to. I think it'll be more or less done and dusted by then.
That's a good point. Yeah, so we'll probably do that as well.
Yeah. So I mean, sorry. What was the thing you said before that?
We're gonna do our way too early season predictions.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how this is going to be tough because like it's always tough now in college football just because you just don't really know how things are going to look. The rosters are so different year to year, but I especially just this
question marks.
There's so many question marks for everyone, but especially this team. I mean, I think the schedule's favorable. I think there's major questions. It'll be fun to kind of sit down and like really think about it game by game because I really just off the top of my head right now, I'm not sure.
Same. I have an idea, but it's also like, ooh, do I do that? I don't know. But it's gonna be fun. So guys, I hope you do show up. For that, if you haven't already, make sure you guys do like and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it a ton. And I know we had to do a show earlier today. Got some playoff games and everything, like chill a bit. But probably will be live at 7 o'clock or normal time next week. Yeah, unless anything happens last minute. But thank you guys for watching. As always, we will see you next Sunday. And as always, go Gators.